everybody. Okay, to start off, I'm going to pass you guys out a piece of paper. You can take one and pass them down. And then I'm going to write something on the board to get us warmed up this morning with some creative writing. Thank you, sir. So make sure All right, while I'm doing this, if you guys will go ahead and write your name on your paper. Okay, so up here, I put the sentence, worms are slimy and gross. So what you guys are going to be doing is I'm going to get you guys to think outside of how your mind might think. So first, I want you guys to write what you think a worm would respond to this statement here. So if you were a worm, what would you say back to someone that says, worms are slimy and gross? Think of that. And label it number 1. So you guys are just coming in. If you'll go ahead and write your name on your paper first. And then we're talking about what we think a worm might say if they heard someone say, worms are slimy and gross. All right, and when you're done with that, go ahead and put your pencil down. Whitney, you looking on other people's papers?
I feel like mine's me now.
Okay. For the second one, label it number 2, and then you're going to write what you think a scientist would say if they heard this sentence. Worms are slimy and gross. And when you're done, you can put your pencil down. Okay, once you got that one, you guys can keep working on the second one. For the third one is you're going to write what you think that a bird would say to the sentence. And it doesn't have to be something super long. It can just be like the first thing that comes into your head that you think that the bird or the scientist would say. And then last but not least, you're going to write what you would say to this statement. So number 4, what you would say to the sentence, worms are slimy and gross. Hagen, do you have all 4?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to share one of them with us while people are finishing up?
I said that they make good fishing bait.
And which one was that for?
The fourth one.
The 4th one? Okay, cool. Whitney, do you have one you want to share?
Sure. For the first one, I put, that's offensive. You are dry and crusty.
You are dry and crusty. Wow. I like that descriptive language. Anybody else want to share one? If not, we just finish up. But today we're going to be talking about perspective or point of view. So you guys were doing this activity because it's a way for you kind of to think about different people's point of view, the way that they see a situation that might be different than the way that you usually see a situation. So the bird is going to have a much different reaction to a worm being slimy and gross than a scientist would. So yeah, we're going to look at that today. Before we do that, we're going to watch a little video. Hopefully give us some understanding of point of view.
So what we're going to learn about today is point of view. Point of view is how somebody feels about something. An event that happened to them, things like that. So if you listen to these verses, you'll hear 3 different ways to identify the point of view. Point of view can be found in multiple manners, like the way a character behaves, showing bad manners. If he throws his bottle down after losing the match, we can tell that he's upset and he's feeling like trash. What's the point of view? What's it mean to you? What do they do that shows the point of view? Now slide, drop, and when you hit that stop, what do? Don't give up, man. Don't give up, eh? If our story has pictures, we can use those too. We can read people's faces to see what they'll do. If I see that Sally smiling when she's getting some fries, I know that she is happy from the look in her eyes. Man, what's the point of view? What's it mean to you? What do they do that shows their point of view? Now slide and drop, and when you hit that stop, don't give up, man. Don't give up. Hey, point of view on that beat. Point of view on that beat. Point of view on that. Point of view on that. Point of view on that beat. Now, how they feel? How they feel? How they feel? How they feel? You smart. You're your teacher student. So the point of view is given to you. The words in the text tell you what to do. So if the words say he's upset, then look, there you have it. Don't even sweat. What's the point of view? What's it mean to you? What do they do that shows their point of view? Now slide and drop, and when you hit that stop, what? Don't give up, okay? Don't give up, okay?
Alright guys, that was just like a fun way to think about point of view. Okay, so there's a couple different types of point of view that we want to talk about. The first is going to be the first person. And you guys can feel free on your paper that you did your startup. You can take any kind of notes that you want. So I put these glasses up here because when you look through the lens of the glasses, sometimes it helps you to see things. Some of you probably wear glasses in here. And so this might help you just as a good visual representation of what's happening. So we have our first person. And first person, it's going to be it's like you are talking, right? So when you're seeing first person, you're going to have the narrator who's looking through their own eyes. So you might see pronouns like I, me, or my. And so these really help you to identify in a text who the speaker is. So here's an example of that. From the song, I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. I don't know if you guys know that song. But it says, let's see, where did it go? Oh, here you go. Well, the name of the song. Obviously, like, I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. Keeps going on through that. And then also, if you guys have ever heard of the Hunger Games, there is a quote in it that says, when I wake up on the other side of the bed is cold. So you hear the I in there. It's that person is talking about their own experience. So that's how we kind of understand the first person. And next we have the second person. And second person is a little bit different in that we don't see it as much because it's kind of a more difficult style of writing. You don't see it a lot in literature, at least. So second person. And you're going to see words like you, yours, or your. So an example of this is a build your own adventure story. Have you guys ever read anything like that? It's where a book will start off, and it might say something like, it's summertime again, vacation time. You are at your uncle's house. He takes you on a tour around the city. there are many old buildings, but the oldest of all is on Main Street. The address is 880. He says that it's haunted, but you don't believe him. So then that book gives you a choice. You can turn to page 2 of the book and go inside, or page 3, and you can stay where you are. So then you have a choice, but you're hearing all these you words. So like it puts you, the narrator's talking about you, and they can kind of see in on what you're doing. And then you hear this a lot in songs, like people will sing and they'll be talking about someone else and like pointing them out. So that is second person, and then we have third person. And there's 2 different types of third person perspective or point of view. The first is called third person omniscient. And omniscient's a really big word. But basically, what it means is all knowing. I want to make sure I spell it right. Okay, so it means that the narrator of the story knows everything that's happening with all the characters. They know their feelings, what they're thinking inside, and they can kind of explain it. So an example of that might be the song Don't Stop Believing. It's like a really popular song, and talks about different people from a he or she perspective. So you might see he, she, or they. So especially this one is important because they can see into multiple different perspectives. And then, last but not least, we have third person limited. And you're going to use the same verbs for this, but the difference is they can only see into one person's perspective. So they know a lot of what the person's feeling, but it's only just the one person. So you see this in the Harry Potter series. It's really important in there because a lot of times, sometimes the author flips who you are seeing, but like whose I guess perspective you're seeing into, but you're only ever seeing one. So a quote from that is, this is from Chamber of Secrets. Harry had taken up his place at wizard school, where he and his scar were famous. But now the school year was over, and he was back at the Dursleys for the summer. So it's only focusing on him and his feelings. All right, so those are all those. Does anybody have any questions before we do our final activity? See if you guys understand this. Any questions? If not, here you go. Finish taking up your notes. I'm going to pass out a little piece of paper to you guys. And on it, there is a quote, either a song quote or it might be from a book. But you guys are going to determine which of the 4 different points of view you think that this is. All right, here you go. This one for you. There you go. And you guys can just write your name on there, and then you can write, here you go, what point of view you think it is. And some of these are tricky. I picked tricky ones to really test you. See if you knew. You just think you got it? Uh-oh, no, maybe. Okay, well, you can go ahead and turn those in. And just remember, first person is I. The second person, do you guys remember what one of the pronouns was that goes with it? Mm-hmm. You. What about third person?
He, she, they.
Yes. Great. Let me look at these. What was that, Hagen?
I didn't have any of those.
You didn't have any of those? Let's look over it for a second then. Okay. This is from a quote from Michael J. Fox. It says, "Family is not an important thing, it's everything." So, I actually didn't mention this. But this was really tricky. This would be third person, so it can also be used in the place of third person because it's kind of the same as saying they or he or she. So that's important. I didn't actually mention that. So sorry there, Haken. We can go over a couple more of these. Okay, so this one said, this is a Taylor Swift quote. Good old T-Swizzle. And it's Dear John is the song. And it says, you are an expert at sorry and keeping lines blurry. Obviously, that one has you in it, and that's like, when we see you immediately, second person. So that's really good. And then, yeah, we can go over these later. But thank you guys. It's been a good class. Do you want to turn this off? Thank you. That's so quick. I don't want to